Get an update on the news now with Issue Today. And our Friday reporter, Angela Chung, has joined me in the studio. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning, Sunyan.
TGIF.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. All right. It's going to be just a couple more weeks now for lots of parents sending off their kids to school for the very first time, whether that's elementary or middle school. And of course, they're all probably checking the list of things to prepare. Now, one of them, a very important one actually, aside from COVID-19 safety, is number of mandated vaccinations for them. And our first story is regarding that.
That's right. As we're approaching March, the education and health authorities have advised children eligible for elementary and middle school must get their mandatory vaccine shots before the first day at school. Children aged 4 to 6 who are about to become first graders have 5 basic vaccines along with 4 additional mandatory shots. 4 additional vaccines include the 5th DTaP shot, the 4th IPV shot, the 2nd MMR shot, and 1 against Japanese encephalitis virus. For those aged 11 to 12 becoming the 7th graders, they have to get 3 shots, the 6th Tdap or TD shot, and the 1st HPV shot. And the last one is only for female middle schoolers.
And you said these are mandatory, right? I mean, this is meant to protect all school children in their schools. They must get it?
Right. The answer is partially yes. Under the current law, KDCA, the Ministry of Education, local authorities, and principals of each school are entitled to check whether the child has gotten these shots or not. Parents of eligible kids can register your kid's information and check the vaccination status at http nip.cdc.go.kr.
I remember getting my son ready for this, and there were so many vaccines, and you keep getting messages from the school as well, making sure that you got these shots. Do we have any statistics on the vaccination rate? I believe most kids will have them, right?
Right. According to 2020 vaccination status announced by KDCA, the percentage of 8-year-old kid who has gotten all these mandatory shots, including above mentioned 4 vaccines, amounted to 83.5% last year, which was down by 1.3% compared to a year earlier. The health authorities are asking people to get the mandatory vaccinations as schedules, as incomplete vaccinations might increase the possibility that infectious diseases will spread from school.
I remember reading a recent report, I think from the UK, that the MMR vaccination rate, it fell to its lowest in 10 years or so, like 85%. Apparently because a lot of kids, they're just not going to school, and so they don't have access to those vaccines, or they're not going to hospitals as well.
Right.
But that is very worrisome. All right, let's move on to our second story now. Duty-free shopping. I can't remember the last time I did that. Did you used to enjoy it way back then, before the pandemic?
Yeah, every time I used to, if I fly, of course, I would go shop for duty-free and take advantage of that. But I was sometimes, if I had to buy a gift for others, and many of them ask me to buy some, sometimes I face the limit, right? And that limit is going to be gone.
The limit is going to be gone.
Right.
I guess this is a measure to boost the duty-free shopping industry because, of course, it's been really hit hard by the pandemic.
Right. The government is going to abolish the duty-free shopping purchase limit for Koreans next month. So far, Koreans cannot purchase expensive goods due to $5,000 ceiling on purchase regardless of whether they're duty-free or not. Duty-free shopping purchase limit has been around 43 years in Korea since 1979 after it was introduced to prevent the exit of foreign currencies. And did you know that Korea was the only country that the purchase limit for duty-free shopping?
Really?
Right. So initial ceiling was $500 before it gradually increased to $5,000. But this is too low considering the increasing per capita income and expanding purchasing power of the Korean people.
Wow. So there's a limit on total sort of duty-free shopping purchase, whether you pay or not. Because I think most people are just aware of the duty-free allowance, which is much lower than the 5,000, right? It's about 600?
Right. The nation's duty-free allowance still remains at $600. So purchasing exceeding $600 will be taxed as they have been so far. The duty-free shopping industries are raising a united voice that additional measures should be taken, including adjusting upward the duty-free allowance. They say Korea's duty-free allowance is too low compared to Hainan of China, and a larger duty-free allowance will help jumpstart sales and struggling industries since they consider the allowance as the industry's competitiveness.
I have to say, I kind of agree with this. $600 is quite little.
It is.
All right, let's move on to our last item now. History related. Some new items are going to be added to the list of cultural properties.
That's right. So 4 historic railway cars, including an out-of-commission presidential diesel-electric railway vehicle, which had been taken Korean presidents all over the country from 1969 to 2001, will be registered as cultural asset. Korea's Cultural Heritage Administration said yesterday it pre-notified the registration of presidential diesel-electric car, narrow-gauge railway car number 163, narrow-gauge passenger car number 18011, 460 arrangement steam engine vehicle number 700. So all these, and confirmed the registration of a letter of Dongak farmer. So those who are interested in history, this might be great news to you.
So you said that these cars had been used by Korean presidents for approximately, I guess, 30 years. How many presidents does that mean then?
So the presidential diesel electric vehicle consisting of two 25-meter carriages had been used by President from Park Chung-hee to Kim Dae-jung, and it had presidential office, bedroom, security guard's office in it. Unlike the presidential vehicles that was registered previously in 2008, the conductor's office and passenger car are connected. And for narrow gauge railway car number 163 and narrow gauge passenger car 18011, they were running the narrow range railway placed between Suwon Incheon line and Suwon Yeoju line. The two railways were launched in 1930s and closed before 1990s. The two vehicles, mostly used by residents in west coastal regions, were considered to have historic values as the two vehicles reflected romance, joys, and sorrows of ordinary Korean people back then. And 460 steam engine vehicle number 700 is the only existing 460 wheel arrangement steam locomotive. So vehicles of this type have 4 wheels in the front and 6 wheels in the rear.
Right, and you also mentioned the letter of the Donghak farmer by Han Dal-mun from the late 19th century as well. That should be very interesting. So good news for history buffs, and hopefully that means that more people will also be aware of these historical artifacts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for those updates, Angela. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
See you on Monday.